Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Wednesday, December 21st. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we've got Nate Rapensky, a recurring guest. He's been with us a bunch of times already, back with us here on the Wednesday show. Alex, good to have you back. How are things?
Good in Chicago. We're bracing for what they were saying was going to be a record snowstorm, and now that those numbers have drastically changed, but it's still good. We're going to have a white Christmas here for sure. That's for certain. But getting ready for that, and enjoying the last few games we have before the Christmas break. And it's always interesting. We talk about this year after year with these pre-Thanksgiving break, pre-Christmas break games. Tend to see some higher scoring, and it's been interesting because the trend the last two and a half weeks mostly been lower scoring games. I think we might see a little change of that tonight, and of course Thursday and Friday as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's funny, Alex left Minnesota to go back home to Chicago right around the time Nate goes back to his home, Minnesota. So it's kind of weird here. It's just one's leaving, the other's coming right now. Nate, good to have you back with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Like you said, back in Duluth, Minnesota, my hometown. So flew in and to about, what was it, 20 inches of snow, I think, in the last week. And winter storm warnings on the way. So it's always fun. I think it's minus 17 today. But per Alex's point, I think interesting slate of games going in. What is it? I think there's a couple more days, and then most teams have 3-4 days off. And so it's that time of the year I feel like accentuates who a team is and who they're going to be, right? If you're sort of, Chicago limping into the break, do you get blown out tonight? If you're Nashville 10th in the West and sort of surging, you have a veteran group who needs to make the playoffs, or you more into this game. And so you start to see who's, maybe drinking a little extra eggnog before the break and who's actually sort of into it and ready for the second half. So it should be a fun night.
Okay, you've got to explain things, Nate, because our guy in the chat, our great friend Terry Edelman, he's having hot flashes right now. He's about to get so excited he might have a seizure right in our chat right now that a Minnesota man is joining us here on the show. Yes, you are a Minnesota man, Duluth, Minnesota, and a Wild fan, right, Nate?
Yeah, Wild fan, Minnesota fan through and through. If John Harbaugh is like the epitome of a Michigan man, I'll try to put myself with that Gophers hat on, that big M on the Minnesota side. So happy to be home. Love all the Minnesota sports.
And see, I'm more of a PJ Fleck guy. I'm from Illinois, but then I end up in Minnesota for a while. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Minnesota. Even the Vikings are giving Minnesota faithful something to cheer about here this season. A nice season for them. Yeah. Really, it's going well for Timberwolves. Are okay. They're not terrible. They're okay. Twins disappointed a little bit this year. We will say that, but definitely the Vikings and the Wild are delivering the goods right now in Minnesota for their professional teams. Just a quick look back on last night, because we have 7 games tonight. Philly 5-3 over Columbus, solid win for the Flyers, taking advantage of a tired Columbus team back to back for them. We had a trio of big games last night in the early slot, the 2 playoff rematches, if you will. And the 2 teams that lost in the first round to their respective opponents got a small dose of revenge. I can't say full revenge because it's not like beating them in the playoffs the next year. It's only one regular season game. But Pittsburgh gets the win 3-2 over the Rangers last night, erasing a early deficit. Crosby again with the goal. What can you say? The guy's playing like he's 25 at 35. I mean, it's just been impressive to see Penguins get the big win there. Toronto dominant over Tampa Bay, 4-1. That was my best bet. Part of a 7-1 NHL night for me. So it was a terrific result for me last night in the NHL, just seeing the board well. And I had my faith in the Leafs. And to me, when I saw and I don't make a big deal of betting splits, but I said it on yesterday's show, the public money was just hammering Tampa Bay. The ticket count, was all on Tampa Bay, and yet that line didn't budge. It actually went up slightly from minus 135 to minus 140. I figured it was a Toronto spot, 2 losses in a row to Washington and the Rangers, facing a team that they lost to in the first round last year, that they lost a heartbreaker in overtime in the regular season meeting earlier this year. They said this is their chance to finally get this team, and they played a phenomenal game. Pillar to post, goaltender out, a complete team effort from the Leafs. What was the shot count? Like 38-20 or something like that. It was Toronto with the well-deserved 4-1 win last night against Tampa Bay. The struggles of the Devils continue, and we'll talk about them because they're in action again tonight. They lose 4-1 to Carolina. This Pyotr Kochetkov, man, continues to play well. It's the real deal. They love the kid. He's got a great sense of humor, a great personality. If you didn't see it, watch that interview he did post-game. He's just a cool kid. He really is. And he's got some pizzazz to him. Hey, he almost wanted to fight Marchand, I remember, in the playoff series last year. So there's lots to like about Kochetkov. They're playing great team defense. 4-1 win for Carolina as the struggles continue for New Jersey. Winnipeg with a 5-1 win over Ottawa. How about Big Siv Dave? I can't call him that when he plays like that last night. Very solid for the Winnipeg Jets, getting that start against the Senators. Seattle with a 5-2 win against St. Louis. Blues kind of tired on a back-to-back. And no Jordan Kyrou. That certainly didn't help St. Louis, and they ended up getting a 5-2 win, Seattle, in that game. LA beats Anaheim 4-1. Dostal was good again, but unfortunately didn't get much support offensively. They lose 4-1. And Calgary, a big 7-3 win, their second straight win over the San Jose Sharks. Dylan Dubé and Kent Johnson, two players I just sung the praises of and say bet their props last night. Dubé gets a goal and a point, and so does Kent Johnson, once again in that top-line center spot, taking the place of Boone Jenner, playing with Lionel and Gaudreau. He gets it done again, scoring a goal and getting a point for the Jackets. So good night with the props, too, some of them that we talked about on yesterday's show. Actually, you know what? Since he's just joined us, Jimmy Murphy with us here for the final time before Christmas. Jimmy, we missed you last week, but it's good to have you here today. What's going on?
Not much, guys. How you doing? Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you, Jimmy. Talk about last night, just things in general, NHL-wise. Anything you want to get off your chest. It's the Jimmy Murphy soapbox time. Let's roll.
Well, I can't talk about last night too much, guys, because I actually I was battling a little head cold and all sinusitis BS and all that, and I was exhausted. I laid down for a nap at like 6, just a quick power nap, and I didn't wake up till 6 this morning. So I slept through the whole
evening.
Yeah. I guess I needed it. You know, every once in a while, your body needs to reboot. So I needed it. So I didn't see much. I mean, I've read up on stuff. I think the one thing, and I think it should, pertain to tonight too, because they're playing a back-to-back, is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who laid an absolute egg in Toronto. And I saw, Cooper's comments about the fact that they had been there for 3 days. And he said that's the last time they'll ever do that. Because they can get into some trouble and burn the candle on both ends, like I do. And
there's things to do in downtown Toronto.
There's plenty of, as I like to call them, ballet facilities there that they could visit, just like Montreal. And they got in some trouble, it seems like. And I would think after Cooper's comments, and I'm sure they were a lot harsher in the dressing room than they were to the media, I would not want to be the Detroit Red Wings tonight. So I think that would be a takeaway that I would have. But I apologize. I didn't see much of the action last night.
All right, Alex, any thoughts from what we saw last night?
It's interesting to hear Tampa Bay pulling the Florida Panthers move pretty much. But I didn't get to watch a ton of the games last night either. The biggest game that I was following was Calgary, San Jose. If they all could be that easy, the first period over cashes in 30 seconds. The fastest, I think they said the fastest 2 goals for the Flames in their franchise history. I ended up going back and forth to that game. I also watched a lot of the Winnipeg and Ottawa game. I thought Ottawa was kind of live as a dog, like you said, with David Riddick, and that he's actually been pretty solid. I like that first period over too. That sailed, got the 2-1 at the end of 20. But the Jets have continued to roll, and this is a team now. If Riddick can finally find some form, and no one's asking him to match the same kind of play as Hellebuck, but if he can turn in and give you another 15, 20 quality starts down the stretch with Hellebuck playing, his A game most nights, that's a dangerous Winnipeg team, and that's the kind of combination that you don't want to face in a 7-game series in the playoffs.
It's definitely a situation where you're going to want to keep an eye on that for sure. It's a good point you've made there about that. Nate, thoughts from you on not just last night, because obviously we haven't seen you for a while on the show. Anything you want to talk about NHL related? Last night's games, players, teams that are sticking out to you right now? Whatever you want to say.
Well, I think looking at last night and using that as a segue to talk about kind of looking forward in the year as a whole, I mean, a few things that stood out to me. You mentioned and I'm just checking the scores as I say this, but you mentioned the Kraken Blues game. I caught up on that and actually had Seattle last night I think you mentioned Jordan Kyrou out. The Blues, obviously the Binnington drama, they just haven't seemed like the same team this year. The offense isn't there. And so Seattle, sort of an odd bright spot for me when I look at them, right? When we looked at that roster as the start of the year, all the way through the expansion draft, I feel like Ron Francis's decisions have been sort of much maligned, but tend to be sort of a bright spot for me. I think the Devils is the other one, right? You mentioned Carolina sort of going one way, New Jersey, another roster. If we looked at the start of the year, like, would we predict, this amount of youth, they would have been sort of the top or the class of the Eastern Conference? I don't think so. And that's a team for me, hope we don't have Devils fans in the chat, but I like to fade moving forward, right? I just don't think they have the roster quality to play at that sort of pedigree or stature for the whole year. And I think it was Keith Yandel on TNT who predicted they would miss the playoffs maybe a month ago, even when they were off to that hot start. And I'm not saying they're going to do that, but it's a team that just, I don't think can continue at that pace, obviously. And then Anaheim, who I'm going to fade tonight, giving up, I think, the most expected scoring chances in the NHL, or expected goals, worst penalty kill, or one of the worst as a team, going into or Minnesota playing there tonight. I look to fade. So I think I mentioned at the start, an interesting time of the year with just everyone going into the holidays, and teams that are sort of hanging on or the bottom of their division. I look for them to be a little slow tonight or the next couple days. Teams that are trying to make that push as we move into the new year, I look for them to kind of hit the gas pedal.
Definitely. This is that time of year too. We're transitioning into 2023, the new year. All-Star break is going to be here before you know it. And then after that, really, that's when that push for the playoffs begins. And that's when we're really going to find out if New Jerseys of the world and the Seattles of the world and some of these teams that have really stunned us here in the early going have what it takes to maintain that, stay in the fight, if you will, stay in the race, stay in the hunt for the playoffs for an 82-game sojourn right through until April, or are they going to fall off the pace?
Guys, with the Devils too, first of all, their fans have to be the most fickle fans I've ever seen. Do you hear they're chanting "Fire Lindy" again?
Really?
Fired it up again.
I mean, like, come on. Like, seriously, like, I don't know. Like, but anyhow, but it's
the last time they did it, though, it got them going. So maybe that's their,
I don't think that's why they're doing it. I think they're just doing it because they're morons. But, I think with the Devils, you make a great point there, too. And I don't know if I heard it right. I know they're top three. It might be the most easiest, but they're top three easiest schedules to this point. I think I heard that on Sportsnet recently. And, that's not to take away from what they did, but you're right. Now we're going to see, you get down to the meat and potatoes of the schedule and the grind of the winter, and, the weather's starting to suck, and people are getting sick and people are getting injuries. And, now we're going to see what they're made of. And you look at teams like that, right, guys? I'm not, I'm very objective. I'm not trying to toot the Bruins horn or like rah Bruins, but I see right now the Bruins aren't playing good hockey right now, but they're still winning. And that's because of the leadership core they have and the coach being able to lean on them. He talked about that the other night. I don't think that Devils leadership core, if we can even call it that, they're not there yet, right? This is maybe where they start to build that and form that character that you need to get through those months. So be very interesting to see how these young guys that are their leaders, handle this right now, handle being where they are in the standings when the schedule gets real.
Yeah, that is a great point. I mean, you're right. They have not faced, and someone rhymed off actually the list of their opponents coming up, the New Jersey Devils. It's a great segue because they are the first game on tap as we roll into tonight's card. New Jersey Devils, Florida Panthers. Florida minus 135 home favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. And we know the Devils, as I mentioned, are slumping. It's their biggest losing streak of the season that they are in the midst of right now. 6 straight losses to the Carolina Hurricanes by a score of 4-1. All of a sudden, they've struggled to score goals. The one thing you could always rely on for New Jersey years past and even this year was always they could get their offense going. They could score. They could be dangerous. Not so much lately. The last 6 or 4 games during this losing streak, they've scored just 5 goals in the last 4 games combined. So that offense, Jack Hughes is the only one that's doing anything right now for the Devils. All of a sudden, Nico Hischier's quieted down. Jesper Bratt's not giving you much. Where did Igor Sharangovic's offense go? So many of these guys that were filling the net early in the year, they're not doing it as much right now. Mercer's been quiet. Zetterlund hasn't worked so far on the top line for the Devils since he was moved up there. So all of a sudden, that team is not scoring goals, which has usually been their strength. I can't even say they've been horrible defensively, but they haven't been nearly as good. I think what has been noticeable is Vitek Vanacek's hit his first rough patch of the year, too. He got pulled last night in the game against Carolina. He's a goalie that's played very well for the most part this year, but it hasn't been nearly as good lately. It was Mackenzie Blackwood, who's finally healthy enough to be available for the Devils, that came into that game last night, gave up 1 goal on 7 shots in relief of Vanacek against Carolina last night. I would believe he was scheduled to be the starting goaltender for the Devils tonight in this game. But I fully expect Blackwood to make his first actual start since returning from the injured list. Sergei Bobrovsky in net for Florida. That kind of surprises me. Look, Jimmy will be able to talk about this firsthand, but I know that was rough for Spencer Knight, and I know he had to be disappointed. Close to home, playing the Bruins, and to lose 7-3 like that to Boston, that's not the return Spencer Knight wanted from the injured list, and they certainly didn't do him any favors. The Panthers, their team defense as a whole was brutal that night. So it's not all on Spencer Knight, but I'm sure he wanted to play better than that. I thought Paul Maurice would give the kid a chance to get right back in the net tonight and bounce back from that game on Monday against Boston. I'm actually very surprised he's going to goalie Bob here tonight in net for the Panthers in this game. I don't want New Jersey in this game. I don't want any part of New Jersey right now, especially on a back-to-back. I could only look Florida. I lean to Florida. I probably will take a piece of them in regulation just to get a little bit of a better price with the Panthers. They are coming off an embarrassing loss, 7-3 to the Bruins. I'm sure you get a much better effort from them. But I'm also going to take a shot with the over tonight in this game. I know New Jersey's not scoring goals right now, but I think this is an opportunity. Florida's defense has struggled. I don't trust Bobrovsky, especially when let's see what Bobrovsky does when he's not playing Columbus, who can't put a puck in the ocean right now. Let's see how he plays in a game like this, where I know Devils have struggled to score lately, but there's still a lot of weapons there, I think, that are due to find the back of the net and get things going in that regard at some point. It could be as early as tonight. So I probably have a look toward Florida in regulation just to get a little better price, and also maybe look over 6.5 here. Anton Lundell, by the way, great point in the chat. He is back tonight for the Panthers. Barkov remaining out, it looks like, for the Panthers as well. Will not play tonight. And I've said this a million times on this show about Barkov. You miss his offense, you miss his defense even more, in my opinion, because he's a great two-way forward. Every game that pretty much that Florida has played without Barkov in the lineup, they've given up goals, and the game has gone over the total for the most part. It absolutely is uncanny how many times this team has went to the over and struggled defensively to keep the puck out of their own net with Barkov out of the lineup. It's been a recurring theme for the Panthers. So it's another reason why I pulled the trigger with the over 6.5 here. Alex, what do you think? Devils, Panthers?
Yeah, talking about this Devils team and the slump that they've been on, and things aren't going to get any easier. You got Florida tonight. You got Boston, Pittsburgh, Carolina, the Rangers, Vegas, Dallas, and Seattle. That's 11 of the next.
Difficult.
Yeah, all that within the 11 of the next 17 games, with more than half of those games on the road. That's a tweet that's from Andy McNeil at Digital Gambler. He pointed that out late last night. This is definitely going to be a rough stretch, and I think we're going to see what this New Jersey team is made of. And Florida's a team that they can beat, right? Florida's not really that great of a team. They definitely don't look nearly as strong as they did last year. And I've said this before, with the last couple of games in New Jersey, well, this is the time they need to turn things around if they're going to prove that this is not a fluke run and that they're a legitimate team in the Atlantic Division and Eastern Conference. So far, they haven't failed to do that in 2 very important games, especially the last game against Carolina. And now you've lost the lead in the Atlantic, in the Metro by 2 points. So now this is one where you really have to kind of buckle down, get things turned around. Like I said, you don't want to go into the holiday break on a 7 or 8 game losing streak. You need to string together wins. Now, this is probably the most important game for New Jersey since that after that back-to-back loss when they first started chanting "Fire Lindy." Like I said, it's ridiculous they're doing it now. They might have had a point back then, but who's to say what happens? Let's say they go on a run, losing as well as they did, winning early in the year, and they're 500, come mid-January. Maybe they do make a change at coach. Maybe they start, looking to change some things around. But I don't think Lindy Ruff is the problem. I just think they're just catching some, better teams, and the schedule was favored to them earlier, and now the Storms, coming back to shore. and they're going to start losing these games. So I like New Jersey at plus 115, mainly because I just haven't liked Florida, even in the wins that they've had. They've been so up and down and very inconsistent. I don't like laying the price with them. So if I had to play a side, it'd be New Jersey, but I'll probably wait for a live over. That 6.5 makes sense. I'll probably wait for that to drop down to 5.5, lay $1.20, $1.25, and go with the over there.
Yeah, and by the way, we've seen some high-scoring ones a couple of times with these teams. Actually, they've been trending over heavily head-to-head. You go back to November 2018, we have seen a 6-2 run to the over in head-to-head games with New Jersey and Florida. Even last year, you saw one of the games was 7-6 in favor of Florida. So, like I said, I know it's not easy to trust New Jersey to bet an over in their games. They're struggling to score. But, man, it's not like Florida's been a defensive juggernaut. So this could be the opportunity to get back on track offensively. And I think Florida will find the back of the net, too. I don't trust – if it's Blackwood in net, his first start in a very long time, I'm not trusting him either to shut the door. Nate, how about you here, New Jersey, Florida?
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys. This isn't a strong play for me. I kind of lean Florida. I just, looking at the Devils team, their top three scorers, right? Hughes, Jesper Bratt, and Hischier. I think teams are, it's almost like, you have success in the MLB. You're starting to, you hit 300 as a rookie or a second year player for a few months. I think it's gotten to the point where teams are starting to get more physical with these guys. They're figuring them out. And New Jersey doesn't really have a lot of protection for them, up and down the lineup. And so for me, I lean Florida. I like Ian's kind of, and some of the folks in the chat mentioned in regulation for a little bit better price. I also probably lean over in this, just the history of the two teams. New Jersey hasn't scored of late, but we know they certainly have the firepower. I don't think any team's a stalwart defensively nor in net. So for me, probably lean Florida regulation and over 6.5, but nothing I'm, making the strongest play of the night. That's for sure.
I would say this for Florida, Carter Verhaeghe's rolling prop wise, could look in his direction. 3 games for Carter Verhaeghe playing on that top line. Sam Bennett, Tkachuk will be alongside him. Keep an eye on those two players on the second line right now. Anton Lundell is going to return to the lineup, and they're going to feature him on the second line. He'll be centering that line for the Florida Panthers, so keep that in mind. And I believe right before his injury, he had 3 goals and 4 points right before he got hurt. So Anton Lundell could be a decent prop option for the Florida Panthers. And my guy, Eetu Kuhlman-Luostarinen, also on that second line. He has been definitely producing a lot more lately for the Panthers as well, especially from a point perspective. 2 points in the last 3 games and 4 points in the last 6 for the Panthers. Jimmy, what do you think? New Jersey, Florida.
Well, guys, based on what I saw the other night, I mean, I get why they went back to Bobrovsky. Knight didn't have it. I was surprised that they left him in there for so long. I was told mid-game, though, that I guess, did Bobrovsky start 6 straight heading into that game?
It was a bunch in a row. It was something close to that.
Maybe that's why I didn't, I never followed up and read the comments from Maurice afterwards. But yeah, he just didn't have it, man. I mean, and the Panthers got back into the game at times, and that was not the blowout you think it was when you look at the score. If you watch that game, you know what I was talking about. It was a lot closer than it seemed. The Bruins needed to find that second gear twice in that game and really put their foot on the Panthers' throats and pull away with it in the third period, Bergeron's goals. But one thing I noticed from that game and some other games that I just in general across the NHL, not just with the Panthers, second periods. I don't know if I'm right. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like the overs have been going up a lot in second periods. And I'm looking right now. I'm on DraftKings, guys, so I can't find a bet to do on that. But if the value is good, I'm loving an over in a second period here.
Yeah, both teams 9-1 last 10 to the over in the second period.
Okay, give me that, and then I'm going to go with the Panthers in regulation.
All right, there we go. Panthers in regulation for Jimmy in this one here with the New Jersey Devils and Florida Panthers.
Second period over.
And second period over as well. And that's definitely something to keep in mind. You're right. And again, Chris Otto does a remarkable job keeping those trends as far as totals go. I got to go back to
my man there. Been a while, guys. I'm not on with you all the time now, so I forget I could go there.
Yeah, 2.5 is plus 140. You can lay $1.25 for 2 even at BetMGM right now in the second period.
Okay, thanks.
There you go. All right, Tampa Bay, Detroit. We've got Tampa Bay minus 150, road favorite, 6.5 the total. Definitely a rest advantage for Detroit. They were off yet last night. They lost to Washington 4-3 in overtime on Monday night. But the Red Wings are struggling right now. They're in a rough patch. Detroit has lost 6 straight games entering tonight. And even though they're a little bit more rested, it's Tampa Bay on a back-to-back on the road after the 4-1 loss to Toronto. I have a feeling Tampa Bay is bringing it tonight. Jimmy already alluded to it. Comments by John Cooper after last night's loss, brought a bag of shit basically with us here. Not very impressed was he in that performance. Bad night for Tampa. They got dominated. Like, if not for Andrei Vasilevsky last night, that is 6-1 for Toronto. Mm-hmm. That's how lopsided it was. I mean, Tampa Bay didn't have the puck the whole night. I mean, it was just they were stuck on 8 shots on goal late in the second period. 8. That's all they had. So you got to believe this team's better. And if you actually go back and look at their pattern of play and performance following a loss, more often than not, they bounce back and they win and they score goals. A lot of their games, you've seen them win and you've seen them score at least 4 goals in the next game after a loss. Now, Ville Husso is in net for Detroit. He's clearly been their best goalie, but he's not nearly been as good the last few starts, if you'll actually look. He gave up 5 to Ottawa, 4 in the loss to Monday night. So that's 9 goals allowed in the last 2 games combined. So this could be, he's going to have to be really good tonight. And another little element to throw into this game tonight is Tampa Bay just played Detroit a couple weeks ago in Tampa. Detroit beat them 4-2 in Tampa Bay. Detroit was a big dog. I was on Detroit in that game, plus 200 or so. Not tonight, though. I'm changing sides here, changing allegiances, if you will, tonight in this game. I'm on Tampa Bay team total. Over 3.5 in this game. It's right around even money, minus 110. I think they're going to do what they normally do after a loss, after a bad game. They're going to score goals, and especially after they get shut down. Tampa Bay long-term, this year, last year, 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, they've got a real strong track record. When they score 2 goals or less the previous game, they explode the next game. So I'm going to go Lightning team total. Over 3.5, and also a little on the over 6.5 as well, a little split bet, because Brian Elliott will be in net for Tampa. His win-loss record's terrific. His actual goals against and save percentage is not so terrific. I mean, a lot of these games he's won because of offensive support from his team. And yes, he's been better in the last 2 starts, Brian Elliott, but let's be honest, Columbus can't score right now. And Nashville, he played them, they were going through an offensive drought. So in his last 2 starts. So yes, he played well in those 2 games, Columbus and Nashville, but neither team was scoring at the time that Elliott faced them. So it could be a little bit more tougher tonight on the road against Detroit. So I think the Red Wings could find the back of the net too. So I'm on Lightning team total over 3.5 and the full game over 6.5, even money as well. Alex, Lightning and Red Wings.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing, Lightning team total, and I like the full game over, but I'm going to wait because I'm looking at the history. Seen 8 straight meetings where there's been 1 goal or fewer in the first period. Now, normally that would lead to a first period under. I don't play a lot of those, and I wouldn't really recommend necessarily looking for that because of the fact that, like I said, with these 2 goals, especially Brian Elliott, he's played well enough to get the win, but he's definitely given up some goals. So I could see some scoring here early. So I say wait around the 5-10 minute mark, jump in and grab a live over. But I definitely love Tampa Bay's team total. He said land $1.10 with 3.5. And they said Cooper gave them the business after playing a poor performance against Toronto. They're going to really rev up and I think fire ad nauseum on Detroit tonight. So give me the Bolts team total over.
All right, team total over for the Lightning, and also we'll look at a live over in the game for Alex in this one. Nate, how about you, Tampa, Detroit?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to sort of regulation here. I think it's minus 120 you get on Tampa in regulation. I think, the same thing to Jimmy's point, like Cooper laying into the team, getting towards the break here. They're going to, I think put it all on the line. And what Detroit's lost 6 in a row. I don't think their, roster really is close to Tampa's here either. I think Tampa's going to start turning it on. And I like them in this game to just take care of business and get it done. When you have a mature group, an experienced group at the end of the year, I think they realize these are sort of these catalyst moments where you sort of use it as a jumping point into the new year in the second half, and I think they'll do that tonight. So I'm sort of much obliged, much agreement to what everyone else is saying, and on Tampa in regulation.
All right, and how about Jimmy, Tampa Bay, Detroit?
Yeah, guys, not only it's an extra Christmas present here for you. I'm not just going Jimmy puck line. Give me Jimmy double puck line. Give me the Lightning minus 2.5.
2.5. Wow.
In this one. All right. We'll get some great value there, and hopefully you can use it for a Christmas present you're looking to get for somebody or yourself.
There you go. So not just Tampa to bounce back, but bounce back big. Minus 2.5 plus 275.
There you go.
With that Tampa Bay.
I'm thinking a 4-1 game here, boys.
It could be, which is good for me. I've got 3.5 team total. I'll take that. I think they get 4. It's a question of what is Detroit going to get here in this game, because Elliott's always again, his win-loss record's terrific. They're 7-1 when he started, but his goals against and his save percentage are average at best, which tells you they've been scoring a bunch when he's been in there. So we'll see how Elliott fares in net tonight for them in this game. Quickly on the props, I don't have as much with the props tonight, although I would look at I wouldn't overcomplicate it. None of the top players were any good last night. So you could really hammer home on Kucherov, Stamkos, Braden Point, guys like that. Step up, be better after last night's no-show against Toronto. And as far as Detroit goes, Andrew Kopp has been pretty good from a point perspective lately. It's funny because Berggren's been productive lately, but they look like it might be dropping him to the fourth line. So that tempers my enthusiasm on maybe looking at props involving him now after that decision. All right, Montreal and Colorado. We've got Colorado minus 280 home favorites, 5.5 being the total in this game. You look at Montreal, they were struggling on a bit of a losing streak, which they snapped on Monday night in the desert, beating the Arizona Coyotes 3-2. I heard that. That's not my fault.
Is that me?
No, I think it was me.
Oh, okay.
All right,
the guys will tell you, man, I was always the guy that had all these funky noises going on.
Jimmy's like, I'm just fucking glad it's not me for a change. But yeah, I mean, Montreal broke their losing streak. Look, you're going to look at it and say, who cares? Big deal, right? You only beat Arizona. Well, Arizona's played good on home ice at the Mullet Arena this year. So you got to give Montreal a little something for winning that game and breaking the losing streak. More than anything here, I have a sneaking suspicion Montreal is going to give Colorado a game tonight. Colorado is not winning games easily these days. We talk about how much they missed Nathan McKinnon, and I know they've gotten a little bit healthier the last few games. They've welcomed back Sam Girard. They've welcomed back Big Val Nichushkin, Arturi Lehkonen. They've all come back from injuries for Colorado, but they're still missing the guy that stirs the drink for Colorado, and that's Nathan McKinnon. And without him, they're still struggling to light up the scoreboard consistently. They're not winning games easily or comfortably. Yeah, they've won 4 of their last 5 after the 4-game losing streak, but, they needed overtime to beat St. Louis, who was struggling at the time. They barely squeaked past Philadelphia at home 3-2, and they needed to survive, and Philly almost tied that game in the last seconds in Colorado. They barely hang on 3-2 against Philly. They lose to Buffalo at home. They just, do enough to get by Nashville 3-1 at home. Nashville was struggling going into that game. And then a 1-0 shootout win against the Islanders in their last game. So they're not winning anything easily right now, this Colorado team. And if you actually look back, Montreal has been a little bit better on the road this year, slightly, than at home. And the last time they made the trip to Denver, it was last year, January 22nd. And Colorado was one of the biggest favorites on the board that I have ever seen, in the NHL. They were minus 600, 640. I think they closed around that last year.
Closed at 700 in one book.
Yeah. Do you know what that game ended? They needed overtime in that game to beat Montreal 3-2. I'm taking a shot here with the underdog, plus 240 on the Montreal Canadiens in this game. I think it's not a bad spot to do it. Colorado's been winning games, but this is a flat spot. Then they go on the road after this game tonight to face Nashville right before the Christmas break. I think this is an opportunity for Montreal to sneak up on Colorado. And the one thing about Montreal, they've got defensive concerns still. They give up a lot. Goaltending is hit or miss with Montembeault and Allen. They could be great one night, not so good the next. But they have the youth and the speed. They've got the team speed with these young forwards, Montreal, to keep up with a team like Colorado. Even though obviously Colorado's got the superior depth, the superior blue line depth, all that. Montreal can skate with Colorado, in my opinion, as a team, just in pure team speed. And I think that's going to keep them alive in this game. And like I said, Colorado's not winning games easily. You wonder, why is this total 5.5? I'll tell you why, because Montreal's actually trended under lately, 5-1 to the under in their last, actually 5-1-1 to the under in their last 7 games. Colorado games have gone under the total in 7 straight coming into tonight. And they have played a much tighter, defensive-minded brand of hockey with the injuries mounting. So that's the reason for the 5.5, and probably wouldn't surprise me to see the under trends continue for both teams tonight. By the way, in net, it looks like it's going to be Jake Allen for Montreal and Alexander Georgiev for Colorado, both of them confirmed. But I'm taking a shot with the dog here. Alex, what do you think here? Habs, Avs.
I'm taking a shot as well, but I'm going to go with the draw. I'm seeing as high as plus 400 at Caesars. I've seen plus 390 at Bet Online. So I'm going to go with that plus 390. I like the draw here. Like I said, both teams went to overtime in their respective last games. 2 of the 4 meetings with these two teams have gone to OT. You mentioned, I mean, God, what the draw had to be on that minus 700. You're probably getting plus 850 back on a draw if you bet that draw in that matchup. And like I said, Montreal, if they can continue, maybe we don't see, we talked about the trend of teams getting crushed in Arizona and then playing well the next game, but maybe there's just some kind of a trend that we can look for with just teams off of playing in Arizona. Think about the transition of locale. You played in this 5,000 seat venue. Now you go back to your regular 15, 20,000 seat arena anywhere else in the country. Is there some kind of change to that? Do they feel a little bit more comfortable playing in the larger surrounding after playing in that small setting? So that trend that you mentioned, I think it's opened the doors to some other things to look at from a trend perspective of teams when they leave Mullet Arena. That being said, like I said, Colorado has not made things easy in their winning ways of late. This could be a close game, so I'm taking a shot here at near 4-1 price with the draw.
Yeah, draw plus 400 in some spots here with Montreal and Colorado. Great. I got to post this on the screen. It's such a great stat and some great info thrown out there by Jarek. Avs haven't scored a first period goal in 5 straight and 8 of their last 11 games. And Montreal has only trailed in a game after the first 20 minutes and the first intermission on the road once all year. So maybe you divvy up a little Montreal first period money line here in this game, or even plus a half a goal, for security. If you want.
I got to say that was a great stat by Jared, but that's a terrible photo he is.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And you can understand why that is. Yeah, terrible photo. Yeah, of course, Chicago Cubs. Yeah. Not a fan, Alex B. Smith, as a rival White Sox fan, should feel that way about the Chicago Cubs, or the Flubs, as some people that hate on the Cubs call them. Nate, what do you think here? Habs and Avalanche.
Yeah, I just looking at the trends, I potentially I'm looking at, I think under 5.5 is plus 105 right now. I'm sorry, I'm getting another ping here. My computer's really annoying me. But under 5.5, I maybe give a look at plus 105. I think just, you mentioned that Colorado's struggling to score goals. I think their goaltender who's in net tonight has been pretty solid. He's close to 923 save percentage. He's been having a pretty nice year. Sort of, you lose McKinnon, you lose some of these studs for a little bit of time. You focus on team defense and structure, and I think we've seen that in their scores. And so I look under 5.5, but maybe actually just under 6, right? You buy that up to, it's probably minus 120, laying a little bit of juice, but I like the under on this game just based on where both teams are. Montreal just, last in power play, I think pretty much. Colorado's missing, McKinnon, who's a big sort of cog to their power play going. And I just think you're going to get a lot of 5-on-5 hockey, not a lot of sort of special teams opportunities the way teams are playing, and you're going to see the under here. So give me under 6. I'll buy up a little bit on this one.
All right, buy up to get under 6 here for Nate in this one with the Habs and the Avs. I do want to mention with Georgiev and net, he went through a little bobble there for a bit, right? He had 4 starts in a row there early December. He gave up 4 goals or more. Boston, Philly, Buffalo, Winnipeg. He's gotten it back on the beam again since then. Just 5 goals allowed in his last 4 starts. Yet the Avs are only 2 and 4, in his last 6 starts. So it tells you he's been playing great, but that offense is just not there like it normally is for the Avalanche. And so he'll probably need to be good once again in net tonight, Georgiev for the Avs. Yeah. Jimmy, how about you? Montreal, Colorado.
Well, guys, I don't particularly like them, but I'm forced to sometimes use them online because the gambling thing is still up in the air here in Massachusetts. So if I want to do DraftKings or MGM, I got to drive over to the border to Connecticut. So sometimes I'm on my bookie and I'm seeing a over under at 6 still there, guys. So you can get the over at minus 107 and the under at minus 112. And if you can find that, that's what I would take. I'm with you guys. I love the underness, and I would still probably take it at 5.5. But obviously, look around. You might still be able to get that 6. And I'm with you, Ian. I like that first period Habs idea. I think they come up fine. I don't know if they win. But I think they can kind of catch them off guard in the beginning here, like they do to a lot of, really good teams this season. So give me the first period money line on the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, minor trade too by Colorado yesterday with Toronto. Dryden Hunt going to the Leafs, and of course Dennis Malgin going back the other way to Colorado. I think Toronto needs more of a well-rounded player. Hunt's like that. And I think Colorado could use a little more offense right now with all the injuries, including McKinnon out. And I think they hope Malgin will give them some of that. So it's kind of a need for need type of trade here, minor trade with the Leafs and the Avs that was completed. By the way, for props tonight, probably Newhook, if anybody, for Colorado, and probably Arturi Lehkonen, just because he's facing his old team, Montreal here. Sometimes that gets you going. So, and for Montreal, it's really the same players I've talked about. I think Slavkovsky, now that he's up on the second line, might be worth a look. Doc is always a threat. Anyone on that top line with Suzuki, Caulfield, and Anderson, I mean, they have been just absolutely spectacular for Montreal, carrying the team offensively. So I wouldn't overthink it or overcomplicate it with the props. Stick with the guys that are getting it done. Yeah. Nashville and Chicago. We've got Nashville minus 190, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. I mean, it just continues to be dreadful for Chicago. We hate to be that blunt, that harsh toward them, especially with Alex here. But Alex is honest, and he's always honestly assessing this team. And right now, they're a shit show. They're horrible. I mean, that was embarrassing Sunday night against the Rangers, 7-1 beatdown. This offense cannot get anything going right now. They had a little spurt there where they scored 3 goals as their high water mark right now, the last 5 games against Winnipeg. The other games, they scored or 3 against Washington, I should say. 1 against Winnipeg, 1 against Vegas, 1 against Minnesota, and then the 1 goal against the Rangers. I mean, the offense is totally lifeless right now for the Blackhawks, and the defense is dreadful, and the goaltending is just as bad, especially worse with the guy that's in net tonight, Mr. Groin, being held together by duct tape and glue. Peter Mrazek for the Chicago Blackhawks in net tonight, who's been horrible since he's come back from the groin injury. And what I think about Nashville coming into this game, it's very simple. I don't love this team necessarily. I don't think they're great. But when I look at a team that was struggling, losing 6 in a row, and they finally get back in the win column, beating Edmonton 4-3 in overtime the other night, it's a chance for the team to get a little momentum going, positive confidence, and, get a little, positive vibes going into their next game after snapping a long losing streak. I think you're going to see that from Nashville, and they've got the perfect opponent to take advantage of right now in the reeling Chicago Blackhawks. By the way, Nashville 8-2 in the last 10 meetings against Chicago. I am going with 3 Nashville bets in this game. Nashville puck line first period, -0.5. We've talked about this ad nauseum, Alex and I, the first period puck line for the opponent against Chicago. I'm on that, -0.5, +145, first period puck line. I'm on Nashville in regulation, which you can get at around -115, -120. And I'm also on Nashville team total, over 3.5 here against the Blackhawks at a slight plus price here in this one. So how about that? 3 Predator bets for me. First period puck line, regulation -120, and team total over 3.5 for the Nashville Predators. Alex, Predators, Blackhawks.
Yeah, I'm on 2 of those right there with you, that Nashville first period puck line and Nashville team total over. But the third play that I'm going to add to that would be the first period over 1.5, -$1.20. Now, that hasn't cashed a lot in Hawks games this year. It's been first period unders left and right because of their lack of offense. But I think Nashville comes out, they can at least get 2 on their own, which is why I like that first period puck line as well. And $1.20, you just can't shy away from that price right now with these first period overs. And it's been nice to see some of the totals going under, because now we're getting some good value. I mean, last night, Calgary, San Jose, getting $1.25 on that was absolutely absurd. So now we're getting back into the realm of getting fair and decent prices with these first period overs. It's just a matter of finding the right spot. And I think this would be a good spot, even though, like I said, Chicago's offense, you can't rely on them. I think Nashville, we could trust on them to at least get 2 of their own. And with their goaltending, and we don't know who's going to start yet, I wouldn't be shocked if the Preds gave Lincoln the start. I mean, this would definitely be a revenge spot game for him.
That's true.
Remember, he didn't, they didn't give him any kind of offers. They just let him go, the Hawks. And they replaced him with guys who are probably, for the most part, worse than him. Certainly Soderblom and Stalock aren't on the same level as Lincoln. And you could have argued with Mrazek, if he could stay healthy for, maybe at least a week, he'd be somewhat comparable. But it's just a bad times at 1901 West Madison right now, and that's the goal. I mean, we're trying to lose as many games as possible, get that number 1 pick, and get Connor Bedard in a Hawks uniform. But this is the process that's needed for that. They're going to keep losing, and they're probably going to lose in some disastrous fashions, like we saw on Sunday night against the Rangers. So Nashville could probably name their score if they get off to a hot start early. Who knows how high this goes up? So you might even want to look at a live full game over if you can grab it, but I don't know if you'll have enough time to grab that any cheaper of a price or a number lower than 6. So I'd probably suggest an over as well, but I'm going to go for the show purposes. First period puck line, first period over, and team total with Nashville.
There we go. That's 3 bets for Alex. First period puck line, team total over with Nashville, and also the first period over in this one with the Predators and the Blackhawks. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see. It was just confirmed. Okay, apparently I haven't seen it on the sites yet, RotoWire or Left Wing Lock, among others, but apparently we're hearing confirmations that UC Saros will indeed get the start for the Nashville Predators, denying Kevin Lankinen the chance to face his former team here tonight. But we still like Nashville. And I think that's the worst thing that could happen for Chicago. If you get a Nashville team that lost to Edmonton the other night and they've lost 7 in a row now coming into this game, then maybe Chicago can pounce on a bad, struggling team with no confidence. But they got the win. I'm sure they're feeling better. They've got higher spirits now, snapping that losing streak, Nashville. And I'm sure that's worse for Chicago, that now you've got a team that's gotten a little confidence back now because they finally won a hockey game the other night against a solid Edmonton team. Nate, what do you think here? Nashville, Chicago.
Yeah, I'm on Nashville puck line. That was one of the first ones I kind of circled on my card. I also like Nashville, puck line in the first period to sort of take that period. I think, you look at it, you mentioned it, Ian, they were on a skid. I think it was 5-6 games in a row they had lost, turned it around with an overtime win against Edmonton. I think that feeling sort of, percolates into tonight too, and they're looking to turn it around. 11th in the West, a couple of points behind St. Louis for 10th. They have some ground to make up, and Alex, you touched on it. Chicago, I mean, half of their team is sort of out the door. We don't know what's going to happen with Patrick Kane. Is he really invested in this? Chicago has no sustained offense. I just don't know how you go away from Nashville here. And so I like them in the first period as well.
All right. By the way, some props that I like in this game on the Nashville side. Jeannot is moving up to the second line, Tanner Jeannot. So there's an undervalued player there. Granlund up to the top line tonight with Forsberg. And the guy that made his season debut in the last game for Nashville, Thomas Novak, called up from the Milwaukee Admirals team in the AHL, where he had 11 goals and 26 points in 25 games down there. He picked up an assist against Edmonton in his season debut with Nashville, 2 shots on goal. Jump on Thomas Novak props. He's one of my bargain bin players. We love these situations. Top line center just called up, had an assist, 2 shots on goal against Edmonton. Take advantage. Let's see if we can get some great prices, great opportunity there. Thomas Novak here for Nashville in terms of the player prop market. Jimmy, what do you think here? Nashville, Chicago.
Guys, well, I keep refreshing it here. If you go to DraftKings right now, you can still get a 5.5 on this game. So I would jump on that if you could. I like the over in that, either at 5.5 or even 6. I like that as well. And I'm going to do a Jimmy puck line on the Predators.
All right, liking the over, especially if you can find the 5.5, and liking Jimmy puck line here, Nashville minus 1.5 on the puck line. All right, we'll get to the rest of the Wednesday card in just a second. But first, we'll hear from one of our 2 great sponsors, Gramco.
All right, whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products such as vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you, and is also available at many American retailers as well. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. If you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you get 25% off of any order, and all orders on the site that are $50 and higher are shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, we're back here on the Ice Guys show, and we'll roll on here on this Wednesday card. Next up, we've got let me just see here. And that's not Buffalo and Arizona here. I think I'm looking too far down. Here we go. Edmonton and Dallas. Next up, it is Dallas minus 145 home favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. Stars coming back home off a pretty lengthy road trip for them. I think it was 6 games long. The recent road trip that they just completed as they went their way through Pittsburgh, New Jersey, 5 games, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Washington, Carolina, and Columbus. And now they're back home facing the Edmonton Oilers. It was a 3-2 road trip for Dallas. They started the road trip losing to Pittsburgh 2-1. They bounced back, beat New Jersey and Washington after that. The Washington game was a little bit misleading, though. They got badly outplayed in that game. If not for Jake Ottinger in net, could have been a lot different result for Dallas in that Washington game. Outshot 46-26, but they still managed to get a 2-1 win in that game. Carolina with a 5-4 overtime win against Dallas. They had Scott Wedgwood in that night. And then the other night against Columbus, they find a way to get the victory, 2-1, and beat the Blue Jackets. Jake Ottinger, 15 seconds away from a shutout in that game when my guy for Columbus, who I've been taking props with the last couple games, Kent Johnson, broke the shutout bid in that game with a 2-1 with the goal late to make it 2-1, but Dallas still hangs on for the victory. Edmonton, 3 straight losses, tough losses, all 3 of them. I mean, 4-3 in a shootout to St. Louis, the game where they tie it late, the Blues, on a Darnell Nurse turnover. They have the goal called back in overtime because of offside, which was very controversial, and then they lose in a shootout. They have the game stolen from them against Anaheim by Lucas Dostal, who was just absolutely ridiculous in that game. 49 shots faced, and Anaheim somehow steals a 4-3 win despite being outshot 49-17. And then last game against Nashville, again, right there for the taking for Edmonton, and they end up losing 4-3 in overtime in that game. So 3 losses in a row for Edmonton. They could have won all 3 of those games. It's not like they played horrible in any of those games. They catch Dallas off the road trip here, first home game. It's not like Dallas is winning games comfortably or easily lately. I mean, the New Jersey game, New Jersey struggling. They needed empty net goals to put that one away. 4-1, but there were 2 empty net goals. They should have lost to Washington. They barely beat Columbus, who are not playing well and decimated with injuries right now. I'm taking Edmonton here, plus 130, plus 125 in this game. They haven't lost 4 games in a row yet this entire season, the Edmonton Oilers. And I'm going to bank on them not losing 4 in a row for the first time this season here tonight as well. And I do believe they're going to go back to our guy, Stuart Skinner, in net tonight after Campbell failed to pick up the victory in the last game. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm expecting Skinner to be the goalie. He's being projected. Ottinger has been confirmed in net for Dallas. And look, he's playing really well the last 4 starts. That's the one fear I've got. But at this price, and given Dallas back home off the 5-game roadie, I'm going to take a shot at Edmonton. They haven't lost 4 in a row yet. That's on the line tonight. Oilers could have won all 3 of these games they just lost in a row. So I'm going to take a shot here. Edmonton Oilers as a road underdog, plus 125, plus 130. And I'll look toward the over as well, just because Edmonton's trending that way. Edmonton-Dallas games, the last few have gone over as well. So looking in those 2 directions. Alex, Oilers and Stars.
Not so fast, my friend. Yeah, Edmonton could have won the last 3 games in a row, but, someone's aunt had stones, it'd be their uncle. The way I look at this, Dallas, I'm going regulation plus 105. I played that this morning. Ottinger, like you said, he's getting in rhythm now. And where he goes, the rest of the Stars team goes. I know they're loaded with offense. Jason Richardson and everybody, Robertson. I keep making that mistake. Jason Robertson. And that offense, they're loaded and lethal. But the goaltending is what really keeps them afloat. When Ottinger is on his A game, this is a very, very dangerous Dallas team. And this is a good price for them. And yes, coming back home, we've seen that hasn't affected 2 teams so much lately. But Edmonton, there's still something off with their game a little bit. I thought they were going to really put the screws to Nashville. I had that team total over. Love that play a lot. Barely missed going in the OT, and they end up losing. But they should have. That game should have never gone to overtime in my eyes. They should have really come out with a full effort there, and they were caught off guard by a Nashville team. Dallas is much better than Nashville, so I think we're going to see the Stars team play well and get the win here. I like this within 60, so plus 105. I'm going with Dallas.
All right, like in Dallas here, plus 105 in regulation. You get a little better price here with them in this one. Nate, Oilers, Stars.
I'll take a shot at Oilers too. Agree that the last few games, tough loss to them. They've been competitive. Looking at some of the metrics, I think, and it's hard to tell how this plays game to game, right? But the Stars with Ottinger and just who they've been playing, I think they have one of the top goal differentials above expected at 11. That's close to the top of the league. Whereas Edmonton is the other way, right? So close to a minus 11. I think some of that, you start to see it even out. Edmonton maybe finishes some chances. The one unknown, though, I think it's tough, and this is why I lean Edmonton. It's probably not a strong play for me, is Ottinger, right? Like, I think Dallas clearly has the advantage in net. I mean, a lot of times most people do against Edmonton historically, but Ottinger is this wild card. We saw what he did against the Flames in the playoffs last year. It's sort of carried over to this year. He's a stud, but I take a shot on Edmonton here, just given the top line talent, how competitive they've been, and probably a motivated group coming off 3 straight losses.
Yeah, that's what I feel too. They're going to be really, really anxious. Urgency going to take over tonight for Edmonton. They do have to look. Jake Ottinger is a better goalie than anybody Edmonton has right now. There's no question about that. And we saw him steal a game against Washington. He's given up 2 goals or less, I believe, in 4 straight starts, Ottinger. So we're going. If you're taking Edmonton like Nate and I, you're going head to head against a goalie that's feeling it right now and is in his zone. But it's a chance I'm willing to take here in this spot and at the price. What do you think here, Jimmy? Oilers, Stars.
I'm with Nate. I'm going to go with the Oilers in this one, guys. Just a gut feeling. That's all I can explain it. I was very, which way do I go on this? And my gut's saying the Oilers.
Well, this is the time now for Alex to bust out so you're all on the Oilers.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that. Yeah.
Lone Ranger, Alex on this one with the Dallas Stars. No pun intended. Lone Dallas, Texas Ranger here on the Dallas Stars in regulation. And the 3 of us, Nate, Jimmy, and I, all on Edmonton. So guaranteed winner right here on the Ice Guys show from this game. As far as props go, look, the Nuge is just ridiculous. He keeps on producing right now for the Oilers. Definitely could look in that direction. I'm hell-bent on believing Yamamoto's going to get going. He's still on that second line. He's going to find the back of the net more consistently. It's the Hyman's been rolling. Those are good options. As far as Dallas goes, maybe consider Kiviranta and Dellandrea. They've moved up to the second line. They've got some value. Wyatt Johnston found the back of the net in the last game against Columbus, and that snapped an ugly goal drought for him. He had been producing early in the year, and he's got 8 goals on the season. Don't be surprised if that goal gets him off the schneid and he starts getting some of that mojo and that timing and that confidence back. So Wyatt Johnston might be a decent goal prop look here for the Stars as well. In this one. All right, Minnesota Wild, Anaheim Ducks. We've got Minnesota minus 280, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. He tried to do it again last night, Lucas Dostal, steal a game for his team, but unfortunately could not do it a second straight game. They lose 4-1 to the LA Kings. Now they're on a back-to-back, although it's very little travel going from LA to Anaheim. But still, back-to-back situation for the Ducks. And that loss to LA snapped a 2-game losing streak. But you look at the 2 wins. One was against Montreal, slumping at the time. And then they didn't have any business beating Edmonton. But they had that game stolen from them by Dostal, who was just incredible, stood on his head and robbed Edmonton of 2 points in that game. So, be careful with looking at those 2 games as signs of a turnaround for Anaheim. Minnesota comes into this game. And certainly Nate can speak to this. Alex, too. I mean, they watch this team a lot. They're playing some of their best defensive hockey, team defense that I've seen in a very long time during this 5-game win streak. I mean, they've given up a grand total of 5 goals in the last 5 games during this win streak. It's been very impressive. It started with that 3-0 shutout at the end of their last road trip against Vancouver. And then they won all 4 games on their homestand against Edmonton, Detroit, Chicago, and Ottawa, holding each of those teams to 2 goals or less. The goaltending from both Marc-Andre Fleury and Philip Gustafsson, both of their goalies during this stretch, has been very good. The power play is rolling. They're getting enough offense at 5-on-5. The penalty kill has been solid. I mean, there's just a lot to like here from the Minnesota Wild, both ends of the ice, playing a complete game, getting good goaltending right now as well. And if you look at them head-to-head against Anaheim, domination, 10 straight that they have won head-to-head over the Anaheim Ducks. Their last 2 visits to Anaheim, or the last 3, I should say, 4-1, 2-1, 5-1 victories for the Minnesota Wild. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do something I don't do a ton. I'm going to do a rare double puck line in this game. Minnesota first period puck line. That's another thing that we've seen lately. Minnesota has been very good getting out to a lead in the first period. I think you're going to see that again tonight against an Anaheim team on the back-to-back after playing LA last night. So I'm on Minnesota here, first period puck line, -0.5, +110, and also the full game Minnesota Wild puck line, which is -1.5 at around -115. So there you go. A double up puck line for me on the Wild. First period puck line and full game puck line for me. Ian puck line, I guess you could say, for this game. Alex, what do you think here? Wild and Ducks.
Yeah, I like this first period over. It's been kind of rough with Minnesota lately. They had started off kind of hot, giving up goals in bunches early. Like you said, they've been tightening up defensively. But I think this is a good spot. Lucas Dostal, and he's a decent goalie, mind you. You can't go by his numbers in San Diego in the AHL. That San Diego team is atrocious. They've only won 6 games out of 27 so far. So his numbers look a little, and all 6 wins that I think are credited to Dostal that team has so far. So now that he's up there in a world of trouble, but that's a different story. That being said, I think he's going to, not show the same kind of just lockdown step effort that we've seen, 60 minutes over the last couple of games. I think he's going to show some signs of fatigue at some point because they're riding him heavy. Obviously, he's the third string goalie now, basically being pushed into the starter role. And he's really the best option that Anaheim has right now in their whole organization. So how long can he keep up and make these 10 bell saves and stand on his head? I don't know. And this is a Wild team that, like I said, they've dominated Anaheim overall. Most of the first period overs they've cashed in 7 of the last 9 meetings, but all of those 7 were at XL Energy Center. Last 2 games at Honda Center have gone under. I think they bucked that trend here. So I like that first period over 1.5 -$1.40. And if it doesn't come early, you might be able to grab a live over here at 5.5 at a plus price. That's probably something I'll look at too.
I mean, the options are very limited for Anaheim in net. Stolarz is on IR. You're not seeing him. Gibson's day-to-day, but he's looking doubtful to return. He's missed 3 in a row. He's doubtful to play tonight. I don't think you're going to see him available, John Gibson. So you either got to roll back with Dostal on a back-to-back, and after a shit ton of shots and rubber he faced against Edmonton, don't forget that, on Saturday, and facing a lot more shots last night too, could the workload start to wear him down a bit? You either have to go to him on a back-to-back, or you got to go to Ollie Eriksson-Ek, who's been called up. And as you mentioned, his numbers in the AHL, 4.94 goals against average, 844 save percentage. Horrendous.
That would be a cool photo op before the game. Ollie Eriksson-Ek is the brother of Joel Eriksson-Ek. So we will see those two for sure until they'll talk about that on the broadcast at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So a little brother reunion here for this. Good timing to call him up because his brother's coming into town here with the Minnesota Wild. Nate, obviously a Minnesota guy, Wild fan. What do you think here, Minnesota Anaheim? Muted.
I'll go with an unbiased. Obviously, what's a homer pick, but I think unbiased here and take the Wild puck line as well. One of the things that I think we haven't talked about, but as a player, I think that's easier is actually playing away from home on the holidays from a focus standpoint, right? If you're sitting at home, you have family obligations, you have all these things going on, you're sort of right in the middle of that. I don't have numbers to back this up, but I think it's an interesting trend to maybe look at. The Wild West Coast road trip, they probably hit the Ranch, great steakhouse in Anaheim. They probably hit that last night. They're ready to go. If you haven't been to the Ranch, you should go, by the way. It's awesome. But they take a puck line tonight, and I think they win. I mean, we've mentioned the defensive numbers for them. They started out horrendous. You get guys like Ryan Hartman back. You get Foligno back, stalwarts on the defensive end. From a forward standpoint for Minnesota, Marc-Andre Fleury playing well. I'll take the Wild. -1.5, probably, -2.5, 2. I'd take a shot as well. I think they have a potential to win, 3-4-1 tonight. And then, ultimately, if we look to player props, I like Kaprizov. I think it's over 1.5 points. Plus 108 is not great, but I like just throwing that. I mean, him and Zuccarello go as one another goes. Basically, if either one of them scores, the other is in on the play. The Ducks have the worst penalty kill in the NHL. The Wild are starting to heat up on the power play. So give me puck line, -2.5 sprinkle, and then Kaprizov over 1.5 tonight.
Go puck line and a little -2.5 sprinkle, and the Kaprizov over 1.5 points prop here for Nate with this game. All right, Jimmy, Minnesota Anaheim.
Yeah, great point by Nate there. Definitely easier to play on the road. during the holidays, guys. And that's no knock on, having a family or anything. It's just fact of life. I mean, if you've got kids and a wife and it's the holidays, it's a busy time. And that can be a distraction. So definitely liking road teams a little more at this time. And I'm with him. I'm going to do the Wild on the puck line, and I'm going to hammer that first period over as well. Like Alex said, I mean, the last couple haven't hit, but overall, that's been easy money this season in any Ducks game.
Very good stuff. All right, final game now of this Wednesday card. It is the Arizona Coyotes and the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas minus 300, home favorites, 6 the total. That's a minus 300 home favorite after 2 straight home losses for the Vegas Golden Knights. Things are cooling off for Bruce Cassidy a little bit here with the Golden Knights.
We got to talk about Phil Kessel, boys.
Yeah. The Islanders and the Sabres, back-to-back home losses although capable teams, obviously, the Islanders and the Sabres. When they play their best, they can beat anybody,
yes.
Those two teams. And we saw that. I expect Vegas to, especially early, be ready to go. They were frustrated that they dominated the third period. I will say that. They started slow, and that's what Bruce said. We got to start faster than we did against Buffalo. But, boy, they got it going in the third. And if not for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, UPL as they call him in Buffalo, who was magnificent in the third period, which I thank him from the bottom of my heart as someone that was on Buffalo best bet against Vegas the other night. He was terrific. He made that 3-2 lead stand up, and he preserved the win for the Buffalo Sabres. Vegas threw everything at the net in the third period. So they did get going third period, but it was too late. They dug themselves a 3-0 hole. They want to start better tonight. And the one thing you're noticing about Arizona, they've played pretty good at Mullet Arena. Their effort, their performance level's been better. They beat Boston and Philly back-to-back home games, then the Islanders as well. They did lose their last 2 home games, but they were very competitive. There was a 1-goal game with Buffalo, and then Buffalo added 2 empty net goals, and then they lost in overtime to Montreal. They played very good competitive hockey at home, not so much on the road lately. Arizona, they got bombed out of the gate by San Jose. They were down 2-0 quickly in the first period. They battled back but lost 3-2. They got crushed in Edmonton 8-2. They lose to Calgary and Vancouver and LA on the road. So they're definitely kind of struggling a little bit more on the road, and they have struggled early in games on the road. You look at the last few road games for Arizona, they're down after the first period to San Jose, down after the first period to Edmonton, down after the first period to Calgary in their last 3 road games. So I think you kind of know where I'm going in this game. I'm going Vegas first period puck line here in this one. I think Vegas wants the strong start, wants to get off to a better opening 20 minutes than they have in recent games, and I think they will. And we've seen Arizona's last 3 road games. They've gotten off to poor starts in the first period. So I'm going to roll with Vegas here, -0.5, +110 first period puck line. Alex, what do you think here? Coyotes, Golden Knights.
Yeah, well, I like first period play too. I'm going with the over. I'm seeing a -128 at FanDuel for over 1.5, so I'm going to go with that. And like you said, the Arizona on the road, they've just not been that strong of a team. They look like the bad team that they are on the road, where they've actually gotten some momentum and energy playing at Mullet Arena. And then 15 meetings with these two teams. The home team is 12-3. Arizona's lost 8 straight against Vegas in Vegas. So this feels like one of those games. And the Knights, they've been, defensive stalwarts at home. They haven't allowed a lot. They've been mostly unders at home. I think that could change, but I'm not going to go full game. I'm just going to go with the first period over 1.5. Like I said, -128 available at FanDuel.
That's also why I'm on Vegas first period puck line only and not full game, because I've seen them a strong start when they're off a bad game, but then they park the bus, and they'll just, kind of let teams hang around, sit on the lead. We've seen that a lot from Vegas, in recent games too. So keep that. That's why I prefer first period look with Vegas compared to the full game tonight in this game. And actually, it's a 3-game home losing streak at T-Mobile Arena for Vegas. 2 in a row they've played at home, but it's actually a 3-game losing streak going back to the last homestand when they lost to Boston, the Bruins, on that Sunday night game. So 3 in a row dropped at the Fortress, as they call it, by the Vegas Golden Knights. So like I said, I think they have a strong start tonight, first period puck line for me. Nate, what do you think here? Coyotes, Golden Knights.
Yeah, I like the under in this game, under 6. I think if you look at these two teams, first of all, Arizona's kept it close. I think in their last 6 games, 5 of 6 have been 1-goal games. But at the same time, Arizona has very infrequently scored over 2 goals. So I don't think we get a lot from them offensively tonight. You also look at Vegas, been a little bit offensively challenged as late. I think it's hard for me to take, puck line or money line on Vegas. It's just too rich. Maybe you look at the first period play y'all are looking at, but for me, I think I like under 6. Vegas, nets hopefully 3 tonight and keeps sort of Arizona, under 1 to 2 goals maybe, and when we get a 5-goal total, that's what I'm looking for. And so tight game. I think Arizona keeps it close. They've been doing that. Vegas hasn't been wowing anyone, but under 6.
All right, liking the under here. The Arizona Coyotes and the Vegas Golden Knights. I do want to mention something very, very important here is that we've got a major promotion up the lineup. Look, Bruce Cassidy's trying to shake things up here for Vegas after 2 straight home losses. Michael Amadio is going to get a look on the top line tonight for the Golden Knights.
He used to be with the Leafs. Ian?
Yes, and the Kings organization, I believe, for a bit as well. But he is apparently slated to be on the top line with Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. So
bargain bin for Ian there.
The bargain bin is lighting up, Jimmy. You'd better believe it here. Michael Amadio here for the
a
Vegas
stocking
Golden
stuffer.
Knights. Yeah, exactly. Stocking stuffer. Get good prices. Again, an opportunity for him to make an impact here with this promotion up to the top line. So these are the kind of things I love about the player prop market. They don't adjust with the players that are going to get that opportunity to move up the lineup, and you're going to see that tonight, it looks like, for the Vegas Golden Knights, with Michael Amadio slated to be alongside Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone for them tonight in this game. I'm just going to bring this up because I can only imagine what the value could be on Amadio tonight. Yeah, to score a goal, plus 525 right now to score a goal for him playing on that top line. So very much interested in that. No question. Jimmy, how about you? Arizona, Vegas.
All right, guys. Well, I mentioned it earlier. I kind of touched on. We got to touch on Phil Kessel here and Bruce Cassidy. And look, you guys know I coached Bruce Cassidy here. I had coached him. I covered him, and he was coaching here, and got a lot of criticism for the way he handled young players, saying that he favored older players. Well, let what's going on with Phil Kessel dispel that myth. Bruce Cassidy just wants to win games. It doesn't matter whether you're an older veteran, superstar, rookie, whatever. If you're not playing well, you're going to sit. And that's just the way it is. And yes, I think he is very serious about the fact that he will bench and healthy scratch Phil Kessel if he doesn't pick it up soon. And he doesn't care about that Ironman streak. I'm sorry, it is what it is. And, I think it's unfair that Cassidy gets a knock for the way he handles young players, because I told you guys this before. He's just trying to win, and he does what's best for the team. And sometimes it happened a lot more times than often. It's a young guy because they're getting used to the league and they don't know how to play a 200-foot game. Well, Phil Kessel is the definition of that. But I'm going to turn around and say right now, guys, Phil Kessel answers the bell tonight. All right, you ready for this one? At plus 1,800, Phil Kessel will score the first goal of the game.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Bring it on. Put $5 on it. What do you have to lose? Who cares? Yeah. Do it. And I'm also going to bet on him to score a goal. And I like Vegas puck line.
Yeah, and a guy that's facing his former team as well. Of course, former member of the Arizona Coyotes. So definitely might be a little excited.
I think the pride factor gets involved here. I think he responds. And I think that's exactly what Cassidy's trying to do. He doesn't want to have to bench him. He's trying to spark him right now. And I think it will work.
All right, yeah. Third line tonight with Jake Lecision and Jonas Ronberg here for the for Phil Kessel. It looks like on the third line tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. So let's see if Bruce Springsteen, Dance in the Dark, can't start a fire without a spark. See if he's going to put that spark into Phil Kessel tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight down on the third. I think that's worth a look, actually. Plus, you got the former team angle in play.
Yeah,
everybody wants to play well against their former team. So Phil Kessel, maybe look at him to find the back of the net here tonight as well. In this game, you'll get just to score a goal, you'll probably get a pretty good price still on Kessel to do that as well.
And one thing, too, guys, I'd say about Kessel, too, I mean, he's proven to have pride. When people knock him, he responds usually. And you think I heard those stories about, I forget who told the story, but when they were in a weight room once, and he's just sitting around reading a magazine, hanging out, and one of his teammates was like, how is it fair that you just get to sit there and do nothing while we're squatting and we're going at it on the weights here, and you get to do nothing? Oh, sorry, guys. And Kessel goes, "Oh, you want me to do something?" And he goes down there and he beat everybody in squats, just demolished them. And he's like, "I don't do nothing. I just do it when I want to."
How about that? So there you go. He's one of those guys that sometimes you gotta, get him. You gotta do something, and that'll to give him like a wake up call. And maybe this is basically a wake up call, if you will, for him tonight on the third line, and we'll see if he has that response in him tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. I did want to throw out one prop. I hope Chicago doesn't score too much tonight. We all like Nashville, but if you're going to pick one player, he's back in the lineup tonight. Tyler Johnson for the Blackhawks, up to the top line. He's actually around plus 300 in some spots to score a goal. And to be honest with you, even though he's only played, I think 8 games this year, he's got 3 goals and 7 points in those games. So, he has been productive. So maybe something to consider in that Nashville-Chicago game. He'd be the only one I'd be interested in prop-wise and as far as the Blackhawks are concerned. All right, great stuff. What a great Wednesday show. Alex B. Smith, Nate Rapensky, Jimmy Murphy. We had a full house with us today. A reminder, check out patreon.com/iceguys. Sign up just $10 a month. You get goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, and more.
Mm-hmm.
And our daily betting card, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 a month. We will be back with best bets in just a second, right after we hear from our great sponsors at Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, our good friends at Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, courtesy of the Ice Guys. Get 20% off of any purchase and free worldwide shipping with the promo code Ice Guys. That's promo code Ice Guys, all one word, ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 400 million balls that you can help preserve with manscaped.com using the promo code Ice Guys. You get the Performance Package 4.0. It is a game changer. The Lawnmower 4.0. It takes care of this, among other things. It'll keep you trim as can be. The Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof. Same thing with the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your ear hair, nose hair. I mean, nose hair in particular. I'm getting up there in age, and nose hair is becoming definitely more of an issue. This will take care of it. It feels like someone's tickling the inside of your nostrils sometimes. It pisses the hell out of me. It bothers me. I need to take care of that shit. This will take care of it for you. The Weed Whacker makes part of the package that you get with your Manscaped purchase, and the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You also get the ball toner. You also get the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good and looking good and feeling good down in the nether regions. This package is really going to make you feel good and look good and look better, slim, trim. That's what it's all about. And manscaped.com can help you out with that. So make sure you take advantage of this. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code IceGuys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, it is time for best bets here on this.
Yeah. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here cracking up, listening to a great promo.
Sometimes I do too when I watch.
I don't know how you keep a straight face. I'm sorry. You know what, guys? It's holidays. I don't know if you're pressed for time, but quick story.
Sure.
And this is before all this Manscaped stuff came out. So one of my buddies, I'll never forget, calls me. I think this is about 10 years ago. I had to take him to the hospital. So he's trying to get down there and do his own little manscaping before a date. And he cut himself up so badly in the testicle region that it wouldn't stop bleeding. And it was bleeding for like an hour. And he's just like, what the hell do I do? I'm like, dude, I think we got to go to the hospital. And so he cancels the date. And I'm like, well, did you tell her what happened? And he's like, no, I kind of left that out. Sorry. It kept going through my head when I'm watching Ian do that promo.
He needed Manscaped. He needed the lawnmower.
He needed Manscaped then, man. If only they had that then, dude. He actually got his testicles stitched up. So
yeah, exactly. No, you've got to use a product that is tried, tested, and true to be able to handle assignments of that magnitude in the the important regions, and that does take care of it. Lawnmower 4.0. So only use that. Don't use your own tools. They're not going to get the job. They're going to have you in the hospital needing surgery over the Christmas holidays. So be careful. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody at all. So that's a great piece of advice. A great time to tell that story. That's why Manscaped
enhances the value of the product there. There you go.
It does. Yeah, exactly. They've made sure that their products are the only ones that are going to work properly with that kind of work.
You see the chat room guys woo 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 saying sounds like it's something about Mary's screenplay.
That's right. Yeah. Back in the day it's one of the classic 90s comedies. There's something about Mary. So that tells you how old we're all getting. Speaking of getting old, this show is getting old in terms of time. So we'll wrap it up. We got best bets here. Alex, Wednesday night best bet. What do you like?
Yeah, once again, we're heading over to 1901 West Madison, but we're not supporting the Hawks tonight. It's going to be in Nashville. Team total over 3.5. You can get that at even money. I saw as high as plus 105 earlier in the day. I mean, Peter Mrazek, the guy can't move left to right anymore without, tearing his groin in half. It seems like, Manscaped can't even help him right now. So we're gonna go with the Preds. Team total over 3.5. I think they're gonna light the lamp early and often over there at the United Center tonight. That's my best bet. Preds team total.
There you go. Nashville team total over 3.5. And yes, Manscaped will help everybody out except for aging old goalies with fucked up groins. So there you go. Nate, what do you think here with best bet tonight?
Yeah, I'm going similar trend. I'm going to take a Predators puck line. I think minus 145 is pretty good value. Like I said, you have a Chicago team that's really begging for the break. Some of these veteran players who probably aren't super invested right now. We have that road team trend we've been talking about, right? So I'm going to take Preds at minus 1.5 plus 145. Best bet tonight.
It's all about the Predators tonight. Nashville puck line for Nate there. There we go. Predators here. Everybody liking Nashville in some regard tonight. Jimmy, what do you like for a best bet?
Ooh, guys, this is I'm debating here. I'm really I'm debating on this, but I'm gonna do it. Screw it. Give me that double Jimmy puck line on the Tampa Bay Lightning minus 2.5
at plus 275 as well. Tampa Bay Lightning alternative puck line minus 2.5. Alternative Jimmy puck line minus 2.5 plus 275. Tampa Bay over Detroit for Jimmy with his best bet. My best bet for this show. Tough one. I mean, to come up with one. I mean, there's a lot that I'm going back and forth with, lots that I like on the card here tonight. Let me see. I'm going to go with Edmonton, actually. I just feel it in my bones here with them. The Oilers at plus 125, plus 130. They have not lost 4 in a row this season. Dallas has got a great goalie in Ottinger playing at his top form in the last 4 starts in a row. But they're coming off a road trip. It's not like they were easily beating the teams they played on that road trip. They needed empty net goals to get past New Jersey. That was a 1-goal game. Ottinger stood on his head in a game they could have easily lost. They got outplayed by Washington, but won because of Ottinger. And then they barely squeaked past a riddled Columbus team, a struggling Columbus team in the last game of that road trip. I think they'll be in tough courtesy of Edmonton tonight. So we'll take a look here at Edmonton as the road dog tonight, plus 125, plus 130 against Dallas for my best bet for this Wednesday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex P. Smith, Nate Rapensky, Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by
Happy
National
holidays,
Hockey
guys.
Now. And a happy holidays and Merry
Yeah,
Christmas
yes,
from Jimmy
Merry
Murphy.
Christmas,
and
happy
Nate,
holidays.
because we won't see Nate before the holidays either. So
I might not see it in next year.
exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. Jimmy might give next week Jimmy the week off, and we'll see him again.
Oh, by the way, yeah, guys, big news on the Jimmy front. I found a place. I am. Moving,
congratulations!
Yeah, congrats,
moving
man.
New homeowner.
Yep.
Yes,
Nice.
It's actually a new old home. I am going back to Waltham, Mass, which is about 15 minutes outside of Boston. Good location, train, one stop into the garden, close to Maddie. So I'm psyched.
Wonderful.
There you go. Close to your daughter, close to TD Garden for work purposes. Get to the Bruins games quicker. So congrats and many great.
And you guys will have to come visit someday.
Yes,
For
we
sure.
will.
Yeah.
Right.
Boston is on now. We're doing a nice guys meet and greet in the spring. We're planning it. We really want to get it together. Boston's on the short list of potential destinations for that.
And of course, Montreal, if you ever need that, you know I can hook you up.
Okay.
No doubt. So we're looking forward to that definitely next year. So thanks to Nate and Jimmy for joining us. And of course, Alex, you're back on Friday.
Yeah, back on Friday.
And we'll have Melissa Cunningham joining us on Friday for the final show before the Christmas break. So join us for that. We'll have Jonathan Hardy joining me on the show tomorrow. So great stuff. That's a wrap. We'll see you again tomorrow for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.